Good evening from both our sides of the world. This is TMS Roundtable Recovery. My name's Dr. Tovah. I am here with just a delightful guest, Peter Lowe, and Peter's chiming in from South Africa, and I'm from Israel, and we are actually the same time. I think this is a first that we are saying good evening together, both at 8 o'clock our local time. So, Peter, I like to let people know how we met. I think you answered a question in the MindBody Syndrome Facebook page about something with singing and voice, and I was fascinated by that. And I read and I just reached out to you and said, do you want to be a guest on my show? Because you talked about a recovery journey that you've been on, and that you had written a book, and that you had a Facebook page. So I was very intrigued. And I think the topic is not the typical chronic pain or autoimmune disease condition or symptom. It's really a little different. And it definitely is a mind-body disorder, that's for sure. But I think I learned a lot since we've met. And I'm very, very honored to have learned in the last couple of weeks from you, to have read Dr. Schuberner's article on it, which I've been posting. So, Peter, I'm going to ask you a few questions so we can let the audience learn more about you. I like to go with a timeline. So, like, let's start at hello, like when it all began. I mean, you were a little boy and you had a trauma, or you were shy, or a teacher yelled at you, or whatever happened. And you found that you began to stutter. So welcome.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay, let me start. I'm 74 years old.
74 years young.
Young.
The great head of hair.
Yes. I actually grew up in Amsterdam in the Netherlands. Though I was born in South Africa, but when I was still a baby, my parents went overseas to the Netherlands and we stayed there for about nine years. So Amsterdam is still one of my the places where I feel very much at home. But I did begin to stutter when I was it must have been about 3 years old, according to my mother. And it got progressively worse. And it's at school, it just got out of control, totally.
Wow.
Primary school was not so bad, but high school was a nightmare.
Wow.
I even couldn't do any oral exams. That was impossible. Uh, all my tests and things had to be done in writing. Um, and when teachers asked me questions in the class, that went very bad. I often gave the wrong answer because that particular answer would have been easier for me to pronounce. Things like that. Um, then I went to university. That was, in a sense, a bit better because when I was about 18, 19 years of age, like many people who stutter, they kind of find all kinds of tricks and ways to wangle their speech in such a way that they can communicate better. So socially at university, I was much more fluent, but in class, it was still terrible because, of course, the classes were much bigger, and then you had to stand up and then talk to about 100 people or so. And at my age, that was then impossible. So I went and I asked all the lecturers. I went to them in private and asked them to please please don't ask me questions in class, because I won't be able to answer. It's as easy as that.
But that was the
So
first taking care of, like, you took care of yourself. You knew what you needed. You asked for what you needed. Think about that.
yes, that's actually a very good point. Mhm. But yeah, so I did pass university with, but again, the oral exams were still horrible. I took a law degree. I actually have two law degrees, but the first one was terrible. I could scarcely say a word, and it was also very slow. Those oral exams took very long for me, because I had to slowly and laboriously answer. Anyway, I passed, but then I had to find a job, which I was at that time absolutely incapable of doing certain jobs, because I couldn't use the phone. The phone was a total no for me.
Wow.
Um, I I must say that my home language is Afrikaans, but in South Africa, English is one of the main languages. So actually, in Afrikaans, I was much more fluent.
Wow.
But yeah, but the English is the kind of it's a language most spoken at court and in offices in the business world. So, and in English, I was terrible. I couldn't use the phone in any way. I got very heavy blocks. I couldn't say a single word. You know. I did all kinds of things. As a child, I had speech therapy. That was a big failure. It didn't help me at all. I was about 12 at the time. Then at university, I went to see a psychologist, because I became convinced at that time that it's not really speech. There's something else going on here.
Wow.
It's a mind thing. It's a psychological thing. Because I was much more fluent when there was no tension, no stress. Uh, I mean, with my friends, things I was much more fluent, and in my
Wow. Wow.
yeah, and in my family also, But as soon as my stress levels got up, then my throat locked
Mhm.
down.
Would you feel something physically happening, or you just wanted to speak and the word didn't come out?
It was physical. It was physical, but it was mental also. It was mind body. It was mind body.
Intimately connected, intimately
Yes,
connected. Mhm.
absolutely. Anyway, I went to see a psychologist, and he was actually very good. He taught me how to relax, and that helped to some extent. Um, but I tried law jobs, but that was impossible for me. So I actually became a journalist. I worked for various newspapers. I became a language expert. I became a translator.
What a paradox. What a beautiful paradox. You
Yeah,
continue, see, this is it. You continued, that's how I see it. You continue to use your voice, use your throat, use your larynx, understand. You weren't clear yet about the full mind body explanation that you got when you got turned on to John Sarno, but you seem to have like one foot on the gas. I'm going forward, and kind of like, you didn't stop, and you used your intelligence to get you through college and 2 degrees. So you need to look at that. You lived your life, quote unquote, with this condition, and I imagine that calmed the brain down to a certain point because you were living your
yes,
life. So
yeah,
this is kind of interesting, as you're telling the story. So you were working and finding that in
yeah,
social situations you were fine, but public situations, like you were able to. And when I was reading some of the Facebook pages about stuttering, people would. This is a common thing that people would say, "Oh yes, I do better when I'm not stressed." So, but see, that's it. When you knew that, but you went deeper and said, "What is this about? Let's figure
mm,
out what this means." Not just,
mm,
"Oh, okay, I do better when I'm not stressed." Because I think people don't
mm,
think they have a choice when they say
mm,
that. They just think
yes.
that's just the facts. It's way deeper than that.
Yeah, yeah. And I was always interested in health matters, um, and I was especially interested in my speech, probably because I am a perfectionist. Um, I like to be 100%. When I do work, I like to do my work really well, very, very, very well. I know that, it's a
Mhm.
personality thing.
Mhm.
But my speech was a false note in my perfectionism, and I think that's why I became so interested in stuttering. It's
Well, do
because
you
it
think
was
that
the
you think that for many years you were bullying yourself, or you were just angry at yourself because the speech impediment was there and you felt hopeless and help? Like, I'm curious about that.
yes, yes. I I, I was always frustrated career-wise because I had these legal qualifications, but I was unable to fully use them and to receive the salary which I thought I was entitled to. I think that was a big drive that I wanted to find out what is it what is causing me to not achieve my full potential.
Mhm.
Uh, so at some stage, I made contact with a speech expert, Dr. Martin Schwartz of New York University at the time. He's not a speech therapist. He's a speech scientist,
Wow.
which yeah. But he had he offered workshops, excellent workshops. I attended two of them in South Africa, and they were excellent, and they helped me really because
What were they about?
it was about stuttering. It was
Mhm.
he according to his research, and may I just say that there are many theories. There are many theories about stuttering and what it causes and how it can be healed. Um, but his idea was that stuttering it is caused by a spasm of the vocal cords
Wow.
due to tension.
Wow.
Now, as you know, the vocal cords are these two thingies in your throat, in your
Yeah.
larynx, in your voice box,
Yeah.
right here,
Yeah.
and they go like like this,
Like an accordion. Like this is what they do.
extremely fast, yeah,
Yeah.
extremely
Yeah.
fast,
Yeah.
and so as they vibrate, um, they things can go wrong and they can freeze. The muscles of the vocal cords
Yeah. I want to
can
interrupt you
freeze.
because I want to explain to the listeners what a spasm is. It's the same kind of spasm you get in your muscles in your back, in your ankle, can get in your shoulder. A spasm is a contraction. It's a shortening of the tissue. And usually it's related to muscle, but this is not a muscle. This is a tissue. It's a soft tissue, the larynx. And the spasm is a contraction, which means it's not moving. It's shortened, rather, it's not its normal length, its normal flow, and there's less blood and oxygen getting to it. So it's stopping its normal movement because it doesn't have the food to make it move. And so I think in order to explain what I believe is that, and what causes the spasm, which we are now going to speak about soon, about it's the brain uh, taking blood and oxygen from the larynx because it's perceiving some kind of threat. So this is interesting at that. So the larynx is these soft tissues. It's not a bone, and it froze. That's it froze. So the tissue
Yeah,
froze. Continue.
yeah, yeah. They are actually connected to muscles, but very fine muscles.
Okay.
And according to that theory, which is in some ways it is backed by research, but they are, it's very difficult to prove these things in a laboratory. But there are some indications that this is true, that it is a kind of spasm of the muscles of the vocal cords. And these muscles they are very fine,
Yeah.
very small and very
Yeah.
fine, and of course, when they are fine, they can easily be messed up. Things can easily go wrong if they are overstressed or in some or other way. Anyway, um, uh, that was Dr. Schweizer's theories that when some people, when they get too stressed, the extra the surplus tension makes these muscles of the vocal cord freeze, and if they freeze, you go in this speech block.
Wow.
And now this speech block happens extremely fast. It's just like this, or I mean, normally speech is like this. That
Yeah.
the
It's so interesting.
the but the vocal cords go away from each other and then they contract again,
Right.
and this
Right.
happens all the time, extremely
Wow.
fast. But when they freeze, it's like this or like this, and then it becomes very
There's really a
difficult
block. There's
to
a there's a
speak.
there's a dam. There's a dam.
Yes, yes,
Something's not
yes,
moving.
yes,
Wow.
and
Wow.
and when this block occurs, then it becomes very difficult to pronounce words or sounds.
Mm-hmm.
That is the basis,
Mm-hmm.
and that actually made much sense to me.
But then, what did
It's
Dr. Schwartz or this scientist? What did he feel, or what did he teach you? And what's causing the freezing of the vocal cord muscles? What's the cause? Did he share that with you, or?
he didn't really know. He has some theories. He's retired now. Um, he has some theories, but it's basically too much stress. It seems that we all have a threshold.
Threshold. I love
We
it.
have a threshold, and as as soon as the tension on these vocal cords are too high, then you exceed the threshold, and then you go into a block.
Yeah, wow, it's amazing. And that's a very interesting point for people who might be listening or will hear this on the YouTube, is that what Peter and I believe now, since we've stepped into the mind body world, is that you can change your threshold. You can affect your threshold, um, and increase your ability and capability. And this is building a new neural pathway. This is the new habit. This is bringing safety to a brain that's feeling threatened and causing this overload of stress. So that's interesting. So you left studying with this scientist, and then what happened with you and your life and your journey?
Right, the way in which he treats this vocal cord block is it's a fluency technique. It's called the passive airflow technique, uh, where you actually learn to reduce the tension on your vocal cords before you speak.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
For example, what would you be doing to reduce the
okay,
amount of tension to your vocal cords?
okay. Maybe I should give an example to
I would
speak.
love it. I would love it.
Okay. At the moment, I'm speaking by means of the passive airflow. As you may note, I'm speaking a bit softer because the softer you actually speak, the less tension on the vocal cords. And if you can also note, the first syllables of my speech I slow down. So, for instance, I only slow the first syllable, or if it is a multisyllabic word, then I would slow the first two syllables, as in this case. And then also, I, uh, as I, just before I slow my syllables, I let out a very slight amount of passive air before speaking. And this way of speaking relaxes the vocal cords. So
So it's a
if I
breathe,
speak
a
like
little bit of
this,
a breathing, a little bit of a breathing, an awareness technique.
yes, it's a physical technique, but it's also a mental technique because you're also supposed to relax as the air flows out before you speak. You are supposed to relax mentally and physically.
Beautiful,
So,
beautiful.
yeah.
No, it's beautiful.
Um,
I imagine all the other techniques of meditation and relaxing your body and awareness and um, what's the word? Body scanning to relax your toe, relax your jaw, to, but, and slowing down the thoughts as well as the voice. I find it sounds like right in alignment with any kind of meditation. So this professor was very smart to apply it to the actual voice.
Yeah, Dr. Schwartz is actually, he's not a mind-body person. He's
Right.
very physically inclined, but at least the technique at that stage of my life really helped me. At least it gave me a basis from which
True,
to
it's a
work.
foundation of that
Mm,
you are in control in more ways than what you thought.
mm, mm. Yes. So okay, then I just to fast forward. About 10 years ago, I uh, I retired, um, and at the time of my retirement, I got this terrible lower back pain, really bad spasms, muscle spasms, but intense. It was the worst pain I've ever had in my life. It was
Wow.
a 10 out of 10.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
And I didn't know what was going on. Because I'm a very healthy person actually, um, and for the first time I was 63 years old, and I was I couldn't walk, I couldn't do anything. I got it was a very intense spasms. So I went through all the I went through the usual route, pain pills. I had an epidural injection, and nothing really was very helpful. Then I I began to search the internet, and I came along an article in a sports magazine about Dr. Sarno and the book Healing Back Pain. And I immediately bought it. And the amazing thing, and this may sound funny, but as I read the book, my back started getting better.
I just
Um,
want to give an example of she happened to be a colleague of mine here in Israel, and she was an athlete, you know, and started to have horrible back pain, and she couldn't run, she couldn't ski, she couldn't surf, whatever. And she got a hold of the Sarno book. She couldn't sit. She couldn't sit. And she'd been through all the doctors and they were like ready to do surgery. She got a hold of the Sarno book and she found it online and she began to read it online.
mm,
And 3 hours later, she realized she was sitting for 3 hours reading the book.
yeah, yeah,
So this is an interesting what happens when you also like someone once said, well, the book was written for me. I didn't even have to use
mm,
a highlighter. It was written for me.
mm. Yes, yes,
So
absolutely.
continue.
Yeah,
Wow, wow.
yeah. I do fit into that book 100%. I I I realize I saw myself on each page. It was I had all the personality aspects as discussed in that book. So that was not the end, because it took me about 3 years to get completely rid of my back pain. I did all kinds of mind body exercises. I began to read about mind body stuff. I read most of Dr. Sarno's books. Also, the divided mind, which is excellent. I read the books of Steve Ozanich, the Great Pain Deception, which is an excellent book. And so, and as I read those books and I began to do some journaling, and I found that helped me enormously. I bought the book by Dr. David Schechter, the Mind Body Workbook, which is it's an excellent book.
Ken, yeah, I have it right here on my shelf.
Okay.
It's
Yes.
lovely. Lovely,
And
lovely, lovely. Yeah.
I think that book was the final nail in the coffin of my back pain.
Wow.
It really helped me, and I was so happy. But and then at one stage I read Dr. Schubiner's article about stuttering.
Right.
And actually, the first time, I must admit, as I read the book, I thought, no, this is not right. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know what is stuttering. He has no clue. And, and then I began to think of what he was saying, and the day after, I began to think maybe this Dr. Schubiner is correct. Maybe I'm wrong and he's right. And the more I began to think, it began to make sense to me that maybe stuttering is a type of TMS because it all fits. And the more I started to think about this, the more the whole thing, the whole puzzle started to get into place. And today I'm quite um, assured that stuttering is a mind-body issue. It's
Wow.
a type of TMS.
Wow. So at one point, you said, even in your bio, well, if I can recover from back pain, then why can't I recover from stutterings? But then you shared, like, you were like, nah, in the beginning, you were like, nope, it's not the same. And then what was it? Just more reading, more understanding? Did you talk to anyone? Did you have a coach? Like, what was it that was like, yes, stuttering is a mind body disorder? It's coming from the brain. Like, was there some aha moment, or just kind of with time you began to realize it?
Look, there are definite things which are shared by stuttering as well as TMS. The one point is the stress connection. I think that it's an important one. The second thing which I began to figure out is that as in TMS, the pain often moves. It moves. If you have back pain, the pain can move from your left side or from your left side to your right side, or from up to down. If you got hand pain due to TMS, maybe the left hand's pain will jump to the right hand, and so forth. TMS pain tends to move. Well, with stuttering, a very similar thing happens. In my case, at least, some sounds can become easier to pronounce, and sometimes the fear of them or the blocks on them disappear, and then it comes out in a completely different sound.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that was also a pointer for me. Then the other elephant in the room is the personality. We share similar personalities. Many of actually most people who stutter are so-called highly sensitive persons, HSPs. And I get the impression that with TMS, it's the same. I get the feeling that most people who have TMS pain are highly sensitive,
Yeah, and
and they
it happens to smart. I always say, and if you're sensitive, then you're smart. So don't underestimate
yeah,
the
yes,
highly intelligent, wise person that you are. That's a character trait. And how do we not use that
mm, yeah,
character to hurt us, but to propel
yeah.
us? Yeah.
Yeah, look, we are highly sensitive, but we have many other characteristics which we share. For instance, perfectionism. It seems that many people who stutter are perfectionists. Many people who have TMS are perfectionists. Um, we we also are we tend to be very detailed persons. We like to go into the
Mhm.
detail. That's also one thing. Then we are highly conscientious. We
That was just I'm sorry, that was someone on, it was on my end. Continue.
yeah
I want to
um,
say something. I want to just interrupt you and say that Michael Galinsky always says that, first of all, you're describing human beings, you're describing human qualities. So he says we have this condition being human. This is not bad things. I think the majority of people in the world,
hmm,
are people pleasers. We like to do good. We have an ego. We
hmm,
want, attention. I think it's important to really call it what it is. We're just human beings.
yeah, but it's the kind of personality which easily picks up a mind body issue.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but
So
now,
what happened after that? Like, I would love to hear about the book. Peter, I want to hear about the Facebook group. I mean, for being a highly sensitive person, you went out there and said, I want to help people. I mean, you really did a lot
look,
with your healing journey.
yeah, look at the Facebook group. Sorry, the Facebook group which I created. I created that to support my book and to create a bit of a community around my book in the hope that it would bring a new uh, awareness, because the world of stuttering is very closed. You know, it's we in this stuttering world live in silos. We are isolated. Most people who stutter have no idea what a mind body issue is. Many people who start to think it's neurological, whatever that means, because that is such a wide term anyway. But they, you know, if we who stutter, if we know where it comes from, it will it will make the healing process, or at least the management process, so much easier, because now at least we know from which to work and where to go to. Because I now, because I do still get my mild blocks. As you can hear, I do get very mild blocks, but I no longer get these terrible blocks where I can't say a word. So I know where I'm going to, because I know what was wrong with me. It's a mind body thing. Actually, it's not a real disorder. It's mind body issues are really part of being human.
Oh, I
They
love it.
they they yeah, they are not sicknesses, illnesses, or disorders. They are, it's the way the body reacts to tension and to stress and things
So
like
can we
that.
say together on the record that it is a neuroplastic, or it's coming from the
Mm,
brain?
mm,
Because as we said before we went live, the eyes don't see, the brain sees and uses the eyes as the organ. The ears are used as the organ of hearing. The ears themselves don't hear. The throat is not damaged, there's nothing wrong with it. It's being
mm.
controlled by the nervous system. So you went to the source, you went to the root
Yes,
to heal
yes,
it. And you also made your goal. You decided, I can stutter. My goal, it's okay that I don't, if I, it's okay that I'm stuttering. The goal was not, I don't want to stutter. Because at
mm,
times you're realizing your anxiety, your humanness is expressing through your stuttering.
mm,
You
yes,
know, we have all many, if everyone has physical ways they
mm,
process and reflect their emotions. Pain is an emotion.
mm,
Anger is an emotion. You know, anger is processed, but more important is what you're saying is that if the goal was to understand the true cause of stuttering, it can directly affect the quality and the quantity of your speech, and also your relationship with it is much
yes,
healthier.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, so that is important, but there are also differences, because stuttering it's a subdivision of TMS, you know. So there are many um, like overhead similarities, things we share with the TMSs, but then there are things which are particular to stuttering. Um, and one big difference, it seems to me, is that whereas in um, TMS symptoms are very often only they only manifest when you are a bit older. You know, it seems to me that most TMSs manifest their symptoms as adults, whereas with most people who stutter start stuttering as a young child, between the ages of 2 and 5. So that is a major factor, because it makes stuttering a bit more difficult, because we who stutter have had had we've stuttered for decades. I mean, I'm now in my 70s. It means that I've stuttered for 7 decades.
Yeah, yeah,
And we have learned this. We have learned this. It has become a deep habit.
yeah, yeah.
And
But it sounds as if you're not, you don't have a spotlight on it. you're not trying to figure it out anymore. You're not focusing on it. You're not fighting it. This is one of Dr.
yeah,
Schiffer's, the 5 F's. You're not
mm,
trying to fix it. And that's
mm,
a direct reflection in the brain of, well, I don't have to protect this person with spasm. I can be in my sympathetic nervous system and be relaxed. But you're not even saying, well, then why isn't the stuttering gone? It's like, it's a learned behavior. The muscles used to being in spasm, but it's
mm,
not bothering you. And that's the key. That's
yeah,
the key. That's the relationship. That's where people, you know, like say, come on, Stuttering, you can be here. It's not bothering me. I can be with you. We can go together and speak on the TMS roundtable. And, so I'm stuttering. Like, stuttering is stuttering. It is what it is. It's not good or bad or wrong or.
yes, yes. Agree with that to some extent, but I if I had still had very severe blocks, that would still bother me.
Okay, okay, sure. Sure, but you
So
know now what the blocks mean.
yeah, yes, yes. I think much is all about management, uh, effective management.
What do you
I,
mean by
I,
that? What do you mean by management?
I do think I can manage my fluency now, whereas I couldn't in the past. And for me, that's the big difference now. I can make phone calls. I, I
Oh,
can speak like this in these circumstances, even though in English is not my own language. Um, I can even speak some other language. Ik kan een beetje Duits spreken
ah,
en ik kan een beetje in het Nederlands praten. En dat doe ik wel heel vlot nu. So
so you're stuttering less in Afrikaans or in Dutch or
yes,
whatever
yes,
you're speaking. Well,
yes,
interesting.
yeah.
I had a patient who stuttered since he was a child. His mother took him everywhere. It was very, very, it sounds like your mother. And he, when he sang, he didn't stutter. And I've read that. But when he spoke, he stuttered. But when he sang, he didn't stutter.
Mm, mm,
So I think that's another indication
yeah,
of mind body. And again, you speak to many people who stutter. What do you hear from the community? Are people applying these mind body methods? Are they meditating more? Are they exercising their, are they doing different things that are helping them? Because you have a huge community, and I think they're blessed to have you. And you wrote a book. So
yes.
when it comes to management, do you, that word is a little bit to me like management, like, and I'm not using the word cure, but people are in recovery. I would consider you in recovery as far as my terminology. I believe you're in
Mm,
recovery. You're living your
yeah,
life.
yeah.
Nothing's limiting. You can do anything you
Mm,
want. You're in a healthy relationship with your body.
yeah, yeah. Yes, I concerning the other people in my group, I think that those who are applying the mind body ideas, I think they do find it beneficial. But it's a long term process. It's not a quick fix.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing is we have to change our minds. We have to think in different ways
Yeah.
about speech and
Yeah.
about
Excellent. Yeah.
and not only speech but about our bodies, our minds. It's a
Beautiful.
whole different view of life.
So I think it's not a management. I'm going to disagree with you. I think management is kind of like, I think people are settling. Well, I'm just going to manage it. I would like to say that you have met it. You have
mm,
become familiar. You learned about it. You are in a relationship with this symptom. And
yeah,
therefore, just in itself, you are in motion.
mm,
And
mm,
there's much more freedom, much more compassion,
yeah,
understanding, knowledge. It's almost like you were the placebo, you were the healer, you healed yourself. And
yeah,
like to not stutter was not a goal, is to be able to be with the stuttering, to live with the
yeah,
stuttering, to meet the stuttering. And when I meet people that heal cancer and multiple sclerosis and arthritis and all sorts of chronic pain, they have met their themselves. And this
mm,
is where the
mm,
healing happens. And it doesn't mean no symptoms. It means, oh, when I'm stuttering more or less, it's because I'm feeling anxious or I'm feeling stressed.
mm,
Or my subconscious has got some kind of message that I'm going to go in and listen to. And it becomes
mm,
this higher elevated relationship,
mm,
where you're not like in the quantum work, it's that it's not just cause and effect, it's you can affect your cause, you can cause your effect, you can absolutely be in control.
mm,
And that's
mm.
what I think the great pain deception is that you are the navigator, you are the conductor, you
Yes,
are
yes,
completely in control. And that's way beyond management. You are controlling your life, and you understand this, who you are. You're Peter and you stutter.
yeah,
Tovah
yeah,
and I
and
practice this and this.
yeah, and also I've learned to not focus so much on it,
Beautiful.
because I think that the more you focus on something, the worse it's going to get.
That's science. It's called salience. I spoke about this. It's the brain will decide what's important. You tell the
Mm,
brain what's the most important. The
mm,
brain will
mm,
help you. Once you signal to the brain what's most important,
mm.
it will shine a light.
Yes,
You can
yeah,
say this is an important brain and teach the brain that, and the brain will be okay. I'm going to go be a brain now. You go ahead and
mm,
this is
mm,
called the cellulant network. And
yes,
we know about this in the TMS world. I mean,
mm, mm, mm,
what you resist persist, and that frame of
yes,
mind, and so true. You're speaking
absolutely.
such words of wisdom, Peter. Really,
Thank you.
really. And there are a lot of people struggling with various voice things and various things related to
Mm,
other
mm,
parts of the body that go into a state of spasm or stop moving, because that's kind of what the old theory
yes.
was, the lack of
Mm,
blood and oxygen. It's just all so fascinating to me, and
mm,
I am just
mm.
so happy to have this conversation. It was really interesting, and I just want to say a few things to the listeners. One, that your book is tell just say a few things about your book and where we can get it. Could you hold up the book? Do you have a copy of it?
Yeah, yeah, I've got it here.
Good. Well, yeah, yeah, beautiful. And I mean, it's a thick book. There's stuff. You must
Yeah,
have.
it's,
I mean, we just talked an hour. I don't know what's in that book, but it looks amazing. And I think, like, look, I found 4 or 5 Facebook pages with thousands of people on stuttering, and I would like everyone to have one of these books and take it home and apply it and join your group. Do you talk to people on the Facebook? Or you have a Zoom group of people?
um, yes. I actually, my group is not so active. Um, I it's been around now for about 6 7 years or so. But
Wow.
it comes and goes.
Okay.
It comes and goes. At the moment, it's been a bit silent.
Quiet, yeah. If somebody
Yeah,
wants to speak to you, can they contact you and find you?
yeah, sure,
Yeah.
sure, yeah,
And I would like to
yeah,
say to the listeners, I mean, I feel confident that I could help somebody who's stuttering because of
yeah,
my experience. And I could partner with you. We could see people, if anybody
yeah,
wants to be in a Zoom and have a consult with Peter and myself. I feel that so
yeah,
many
sure.
somatic methods of healing could be what could be applied, and people could just have a totally different relationship with their brain, their nervous system, and the actual physical spasm that does occur.
Mm,
And they
mm,
can even probably unlearn
yeah,
it. I mean, like
yeah,
like Dr. Schubiner has a whole part in his book about talking about stuttering. He mentions it in the article, but
yes.
unlearning it. So I'm so thrilled to have this topic on my YouTube channel and have people learn about it. They can contact you, they can contact me. I have a recovery program where I work with people. Somebody wants a complimentary consult, I can speak to them before they can get to know me. We can go on Zoom together and help people. People don't have to suffer.
No, no. It's it's a long process, of course. But I wish I had known all this about 50 years ago. Then I'm sure my life would have been very different.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
the sooner you have this information, the better things will be for you.
right, right.
Yeah.
Amazing. So that's what I think you just left that take home tool with the listeners. Is there anything else you'd like to leave as a closing statement of inspiring hope and belief in people in all conditions of mind body, which we're learning are most chronic pain, a lot of autoimmune conditions? And so, what regarding speech disorders and stuttering, what would you like to say to the listeners?
Oh, the most important thing is have an open mind.
Very good.
Please have an open. Everybody needs to have an open mind
Yeah,
because I meet too many people with closed minds who think they know exactly what stuttering or what their pains are, the true nature of their pains.
yeah,
Please think again. Think and read Dr. Sano and read Dr.
beautiful,
Schubiner.
beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah,
that that
wonderful,
is my main
wonderful.
thing.
I love it. And if anyone has any questions, they can leave them on the YouTube and reach out. It'll be uploaded this evening or tomorrow, and you can interact with me, and I can get the messages to Peter. He has a Facebook page, which I will put on my Facebook page, and I am just one lucky woman that I get to sit here and talk to people like you. And I so appreciate you. You could have said no, I don't really want to talk about it, but you did. And we met a few times and did the prep work, and I feel very, very blessed. So I thank you very
No,
much.
I must thank you, Tovah, for the invitation. I really appreciate that. I'm actually a big introvert, as I mentioned, and talking to me, talking to on the internet is not the easiest
Yeah.
thing for me. But I really appreciate your invitation.
Well, I so much am inspired by you coming out of your comfort zone and being a little uncomfortable and seeing that it's okay, it's safe. I try to make my virtual studio a safe place. So once again, we will meet again. I never say goodbye. There'll be opportunities for
Sure.
us to meet again. And I'm just
Yes.
wishing you blessings in this holiday season.
Thank
health
you.
and wellness. And thank you again, and God bless to everybody. And have a wonderful
Thank
night.
you. Thank you. Thank you,
All the best.
everybody. Thank you very much, Tovah.
Okay, one
All the
second.
best.
It's going to go off.